What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Figuring It Out with Victoria and
David.
Fuck, I'm exhausted.
Yeah, it's been a super long day.
But nonetheless, we are gonna talk about a couple of things.
What are we talking about today? You have it written down in your notebook. What are some of the conversations you've been having with a lot of people recently?
No, I think this is a good topic, especially because it's the beginning of the year and it's like the word of the month, right? Like everybody starts the year off and they talk about goals. They talk about resolutions, but goals. What are your goals? That's like the key word of January.
Yeah, it's January, yeah.
But not only that, we've had a lot of good conversations with like members and about their goals or, you know, what they hope to see this coming year, not only for themselves, for their family, whatever. So we just want to dive into that, I think, today and talk to you guys about goals and how we pick them, how we establish them, timelines for them, and is there such thing as too big of a goal?
Yeah, definitely. I think we'll refer to them as members and as customers because we obviously we own a gym, so they are members of ours. But we have, we call them customers to make it easier so that people can understand. So, we have a lot of people who are our age group and struggle to make goals because at our age it's kind of hard to not only stick to goals, but to be skewed and to think that we're not doing enough, especially in this. So I think there's a huge pressure for people, at least in our age group, but in reality, it's everyone's age group to have some type of super tremendous goal that we have to hit at some point in our life. And most of the time it's unrealistic to try to plan for something that's that far out. And I think that, it's really good to have huge goals, but to reverse engineer them. So how we reverse engineer them to make sure they make sense, that we can step by step get to where we need to get, and then build the habits along the way to make sure that we get to those goals and to hold ourselves accountable.
Yeah, I think that's something we've really learned last year.
I think the last year has been a huge growth for us in how to set goals.
We went to Coaching Con with our coach, Chad now business
mentor and coach.
Chad, and Rob Bailey was speaking, and I remember writing it in my notes, and it was really good, and I will never forget this, and it kind of helped with our goal setting now is his term of like having a clear, calculated vision.
Yeah.
And basically what that entails is if you have a vision set, then you can know how to clearly calculate it step by step to be able to get to that goal, to get to that vision, to get to where you want. So like David said, it's like reverse engineering it. You have an end goal and it's like, so what do you need to do now to get there, to get where you want to be? And I think that really like kind of just stuck with us this past year.
This year, definitely it's become a lot more. Shout out to Rob Bailey for doing that at Coaching On with Jason Phillips, is like really just understanding that having a goal is actually a lot simpler than what you think it is. So in reality, setting a goal is easier than what you think it is, and having singular goals instead of a bunch of different goals is really the key to making sure you accomplish what you want to accomplish. So I think that was this year has been definitely it's been a growth year for us, and how to structure our lives to make sure that we are meeting those goals that we want to meet. So we can kind of jump a little bit into like how we set our goals, but I think more importantly, how have we accomplished what we've accomplished, and how that ties into like we inadvertently did these things that we've now learned in the last year. It's like, oh shit, looking back, like this is how we've done it. So we can talk a little bit about how we've gotten to where we've gotten and how we've accomplished those goals.
Yeah.
So I think the easiest relatable part is having successful business. So how did we create a gym the size that we did in the community that we've created at our age? What goals did we set? What are the things that we did along the way to get us to where we've gone? Like what's the credibility that we've established? And I think it boils down to having a clear idea of one thing that you want. So do you want what type of business that serves what type of customer and provides what type of experience? So setting goals for yourself should be very, very singular. So if you're struggling with the new year and you're like, I want to look this way and feel this way, and I want to do all these things, and I want to be better mental health, and I want to wear nicer clothes, and I want to do this, and I want to buy this, and I want this for my kids, it's like, dude, just pick one thing. Like,
Focus on that.
Focus on one thing. Like just pick one thing, and it makes it a lot easier. So how do you want to dissect this? You want to just talk about like one goal that we have this year and how we've broken it down?
Yeah. Like how did we, I guess, because you're touching base on the topic of like creating the business, right? Mm-hmm. And like how we picked it. So just creating the business in itself was a goal.
Yeah. So yeah, we can just talk about kind of how we did that.
Yeah. So I mean, the goal for creating House Against Gym was to create a facility that was family, was not corporate by any means, was get the small business feel,
that fosters a environment that allows you to feel comfortable, to push yourself, to film, to allow yourself to meet other members and elevate your training to a more serious level. But more importantly, like learning the knowledge of everyone else around you, because when you're at a corporate facility, it's kind of like you against everybody else. So creating a facility that really allows you to grow not only in the gym strength-wise or your body physique-wise, but in reality just growing as a whole. I mean, we need a facility that fosters an environment that allows people to grow in all areas of their life. And I think that we've been able to accomplish that so far.
Right. And that's my point exactly, is like, without getting super deep into it, is that we had this goal of creating this environment for other people that was not readily available at the time. Yeah. And so by doing that, we got the equipment necessary. We did the right steps to get us there, right? In terms of like being super transparent with certain things, or just being able to provide that experience and the type of quality of a facility that we wanted to see. Yeah.
So to break that down, now people are probably wondering, okay, well, how the fuck did you do it? So like that's where this is really important, is okay. So we first got one singular clear goal on what we wanted. So just what we explained there is exactly what we wanted. So now it's to not get, distracted or deviated from that one singular goal, and to reverse engineer that. So literally it was like, okay, cool, this is what you want to do. So how are we going to do this? Well, what's the first thing you need? So you just reverse engineer it. Well, we need equipment. Then we need a building. Then we need a facility. And then we need to build that facility out. Now we need to acquire customers. Now we need a better customer experience. So you reverse engineer all of those things, and you start from the basic point, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what we did, is that we picked exactly what we wanted. And in my mind, I knew exactly how I wanted the facility to look. I knew exactly how I wanted the customers to feel when they came in. I knew exactly how loud the music was going to be, what type of facility we were going to look like, what type of lighting I wanted, what type of paint on the walls I wanted. Exactly.
You had a vision.
I had a vision, and that's basically what it is. And we reverse engineer that. So that's how I would attack a goal. Is I would pick one goal at a time and decide, how am I going to do this? What's the easiest and the first step to reverse engineer this? And then just go step by step by step without getting distracted by other things.
Exactly. And you can relate that to what? Anything else?
I mean, you can relate it to fitness. I mean, we could, a good example is I had a really good friend of ours reach out to us. What was it? Maybe about a week ago. I think it was like the 2nd or 3rd day of January. And he reached out to me. And this is someone that I haven't talked to very much. He moved away, and he's actually focusing on his career. And I'm really glad he moved away, because I think that he's growing as a person, and he's doing all the right things. And he reached out to me, texted me, and said, "Hey, David, like, I don't really know who else to talk to this about, but I really want to set goals for myself this year. And I don't really know how to do it." So, and I have to give kudos to him, because I'm really proud that he even felt comfortable enough to reach out, because I think that in our age group, it's kind of hard to be open like that with other people.
And a lot of people could get embarrassed, especially if you're the same age as them, right?
Yeah.
And they feel like they're in a position less of you, when that's totally not the case. But it's that feeling of like, damn, I'm really going to go like ask them, like, they're my age, I should have this shit figured out too, And it's like, it's okay to not have it figured out, We're still figuring it out, to coin the name of the podcast, like, we're still going through it. So go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're right. This is like the whole name of the podcast, Figuring It Out. We're just figuring it out. But what I described him is how Victoria and I have created our goals, which is, I told him, I said, look at yourself 5-10 years down the line. What do you want your life to look like? So for example, like if you want, we can just open up about kind of what our goals are. And this is kind of how I explained it to him.
Yeah. So, basically we took the time, again, last year, I think that's why we did a lot of growing in terms of goal setting. We took the time and tried to decipher what kind of quality of life do we want for ourselves, of relationship, as a couple,
really clear.
As a couple, and as far as the business goes. And we just clarified it a lot. Like, I mean, in terms of like, when are we going to have kids? When are we going to get a house? We clearly like identified what kind of lifestyle we want to live, and just dissected it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for example, he was struggling on long-term goals and how to achieve those. So one of the things Victoria and I have set out is that we're 24 years old, and by the age of 30, we would like to earn a certain income, and we'd like to own 1 to 3 houses, whether they're rentals or they're personal properties. And then we want our business to be at a certain stature. So a business goal and a personal goal of ours. So it's just like own the houses, and then what do we want our business to look like? So, and then we reverse engineer that. Okay, well, if we want to own this many houses, we need to create this type of income. And in order to create this type of income, this is how much money we need to make individually each year, and then combining that together to get us to our income goal. And then from that point, when you determine, okay, cool, this is how much money I want to make, what do you need to do to get to that point?
Right.
And once you really break it down, it's not that difficult. I actually learned this from a Tony Robbins book that I read, and it was just lay out how much is that lifestyle going to cost you, and then you just backpedal it. I mean, it's not that difficult. So for him, it was, hey, I want to own a house next year. That's what his goal was. Like, I really want to own a house next year. And I'm like, okay, cool. So if that's your goal, you want to own a house by the end of 2024, what do you need to make an income to do that? How much do you need to save to get there? That way you can qualify for the house you want. And he's like, okay, well, I need to make $6,000 a month in order to be able to qualify for the size and style of house that I want. And I need to have X, Y, and Z saved up. Let's just say it's like $80,000 saved up in the account. I don't remember what the number was. So I'm like, cool. So let's reverse engineer that. So what do you need to do to get to make to $5,000-$6,000 a month? And he's like, okay, well, I need to do X, Y, and Z. This is how much I'm working now. I just need to work this many hours more to make this much money. But more importantly, he was like, I need to stop spending money on clothes.
And that's what a lot of people struggle with is the part of giving up certain things.
Yes.
And yeah, I'll let you go ahead.
No, yeah, you're 100% right. So it's what do I need to give up in order to get to the lifestyle that I want? And so for him, it was he was thinking about buying a new car, a new truck, and then he also has a habit of spending money on clothes because he likes clothes and shoes. So for him, it was I need to not buy a new car or new truck. I just need to get by with the one that I have, and then I need to stop spending money on clothes this much amount every month. And after doing those calculations, it was literally as easy as just cutting those two things out, and he was going to be able to afford his house. So, and a lot of times he would have been so clouded to get there because he didn't know how to set the goal in the first place.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people get overwhelmed because goal setting, it's like, sometimes it's like, again, is it too big of a goal? Can I really make it? And I think especially growing up with the community and the type of individuals that we have like around us, we have a lot of like first generation households where parents didn't do these types of things. You know, it was always comfortable. Mm-hmm. It was a comfortable lifestyle. And so it's like, I can't really do that. Like, that's unrealistic. Like, when we did our numbers, it was like, what the heck? Like, we could freaking easily do this.
Yeah.
And so it scares a lot of people. And I think it scares a lot of people that it's too big of a goal, when the reality is you just need to cut out the simplest things and you could easily get there.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was the example. How Victoria and I set our goals is we set a goal, and then we figure out a couple of quantifiable steps that we can actually write down, and then we just attack those one by one. So, for example, I think the best way to put this is, what is our goal for 2023? We sat down in mid-December with our coach and our mentor, and he knows that we appreciate him a lot. And so what we did is we sat down and we talked about, okay, what is the one goal for this year in our business, and what is the one goal for this year in our personal lives. And we need to cut out all distractions around that so that no matter what, it would be impossible not to reach those goals. That's how we did it. For us, our number one goal this year in business is hire 1 to 2 people. And our number one goal, personal life, is to purchase a house. So what does that mean? Is that we now have to cut out all distractions. I sold my truck. We are not buying another car. We are not buying more clothes and shoes. As much as we need new gym clothes, we need new shoes. We are going to hold off on that until we buy our house. Once we have successfully bought our house, then for the rest of the year, you can either create another goal or you can fulfill all those other things that you had to cut out to get there.
Exactly. Because I think at that point, we'll have a realistic idea of because we have an estimated cost of living, right?
Exactly.
But at that point, once we have our house, we'll have an actual amount of cost of living and then be like, hey, we really can't do like this stuff anymore, at least for now. Or like, hey, we actually do have like more wiggle room than we expected.
Yeah.
So it just allowed us to have a clear plan on like what we needed to do. And, for the next 6 months, it's just kind of working our asses off to get to where our personal goal is at.
Yeah.
And then as far as the business goes, it's just hiring somebody. And I think once you have something that's attainable, like done just those 2 simple things, just the one in the business and then the one in the personal, it's like, if you can't do those 2 things, at least within the next 6 months, then you're doing something freaking totally wrong.
Well, yeah, I think it's about not getting distracted. So we have those 2 goals, one personal, one business, and you just don't deviate from that plan. Of course, things come up, things change, whether it's family arrangements or business arrangements or things change. Like that's unpredictable. Things like COVID, you would have never guessed that. But keeping your eye on the prize and structuring your life around those goals so that it's nearly impossible without a freak accident happening to hit those goals. So for us, our goal is to buy that house. What do we need to do in order to be able to purchase that house? We know how much money we have to make. We know how much money we have to have down. We've accumulated enough to get to where we need to go. So now it's just going to be making sure we don't do anything stupid to self-sabotage us from getting to those goals. So things like, dude, we can't go to expensive dinners. That makes no sense for us to do right now because we just don't want to have that expendable income gone because we want to purchase that house. So if your goal is to lose weight in 2023, you're going to need to cut out certain things to get there. You can't go out with your friends on the weekends 4 times a month. You can't eat the extra snacks every single day. So you need to cut out those things that are going to self-sabotage you from getting to your goal. But it's just simply just picking one goal and trying to structure your life around that one goal. And it makes it easier when you just have one.
Right. And I think that's where it can get very difficult for a lot of people because then they'll start to realize because they are limiting those distractions and fine-tuning their life to be able to meet that path of their goal of what they want is that people will start to realize relationships start shifting.
Yes.
And you're starting to be looked at as like, oh, they're always too busy or, we can get into that a little. I don't know if you want to get into it now.
No, definitely. I think that's part of it.
So, you're looked at as like, oh, they're always too busy. They're always working, whatever. But at the end of the day, you're doing what you need to do so you can meet those goals.
Yeah. And that's the conversation we have with our friend is it's an uncomfortable conversation because he's used to going out with friends and he's used to purchasing clothes and looking a certain way and fulfilling a certain feeling of emotion by wearing those clothes and having that nice truck and having that nice car.
That emotion that's attached with that materialistic need.
Exactly. And so when you look at what your goal is, just know that people are going to be uncomfortable as you are attacking those goals because it's very unorthodox, especially in today's society, to separate yourself from people around you at that age group to get to the places that they haven't been yet.
And the easiest example is us opening the gym. We opened it 20 years old.
We started the process at 18 or at 19, opened it at 21.
Yeah. So, 21, the year everybody's waiting for, and we were freaking grinding our faces off.
Yeah.
And so we said no to a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then you add like a 75 hard program by Andy, like into the mix and all this stuff. And so you're starting to realize that at some point in time, there was a lot of less invitations to certain things, and you weren't included anymore in certain friends groups. And it was hard because it was like this dilemma of like, do I work my ass off like to get to what I need to do, like to open the gym, to get the gym running, to get this goal completed, or do I go have a night out? Well, no, we didn't really have night out.
Yeah. You have to understand if you have to understand that if you're going to set a goal that's ambitious and out of the comfort zone of your age group, or out of the norm in general, just be ready, be prepared for the fact that people are going to be uncomfortable. You're most likely going to, I wouldn't say lose friends, but you're just going to lose the invitations to things. You're going to lose the amount of time that you have to spend freely with other people to get to those goals. But understand that when you get to where you want to be, not only is it going to be worth it, but the people who are going to be waiting at that next step or that next level will be more suited for the type of person that you're going to be once you get there. But just be prepared that people are going to be uncomfortable with the fact that you want to grow and that you want to be better. And there's going to be so many sacrifices along the way. So for us, it was the gym. It's in our relationship, we were not living at home at the time. We were living in a condo with a couple of roommates. And basically how the schedule was is at the time, our gym didn't have 24-hour facility access. And so there was an open time and a close time. And so the open time was 6 a.m. and the close time was supposed to be 11 o'clock. And it wasn't because members would stay longer. And especially in the early parts of business, and we still continue to try to provide extra value for our members, you have to go above and beyond. And so our schedule was basically like this, is I would wake up at 4:30 in the morning. I would get my food prepped for the day. I would eat. I would get ready to head to work. And then I would get to the gym, open up hopefully before 5:55 because we had a member, Jesse and Joe, that would always be waiting for me in the parking lot at 6 a.m. And I would open the business. So I would get out of bed before Victoria was awake.
I was totally asleep.
She was totally asleep. I wouldn't wake her up. I would go make my food, leave the gym, open up. She would come to the gym. I don't know, sometimes it'd be 8 a.m., 9 a.m. She would come in for an hour or two. And then she would go to school. I would go to school. My mom would fill in for me at the gym. And then I would come back to the facility. Victoria would come back to the facility for a couple hours. And then she would go home. And I would stay at the facility technically until we were supposed to close at 11 p.m.
Well, I was working still. Don't discount me. Do not discount me.
No. That's a totally missed part, is that Victoria was working.
Yeah.
So when she would leave in the afternoon, it wasn't leaving to go home. It was leaving to go to work.
Right.
So she was bringing in income herself. So she would go work. She was a full-time lead director at the Boys and Girls Club. And so she would go work, and then maybe she would come back to the gym. Sometimes she would just go home. But by the time that I closed the gym, members would be there until 11:30 and most of the time until midnight. So I would close the gym at midnight. I would get home. I would shower. I would be in bed around 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. Victoria would be asleep.
Right. And so that was super difficult.
We did that. I did that for
like a year?
6 months straight.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm talking about 6 months straight, working 20 hours a day, getting 4 hours of sleep. And this isn't a job where you're at home on the computer or behind a desk. You're talking to people all day long. You're looking over a facility. You're doing the marketing. You're doing the social media. You're doing the maintenance.
Especially because it was the beginning. We didn't have as many members like we do now.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of times where it was quiet. And I know that was like a very internal struggle. But given that, it was still strenuous because it took a lot. And it took a lot out of you as a person, which spilled over into our relationship.
Yeah.
And we realized it and we hadn't realized it. But at that point, we were like roommates that shared the same bed.
Yeah, that's basically what it was. And we didn't have any angst against each other, but it was one of those, hey, like the season of our life right now is just getting this business going. And so because of that, our relationship, I don't want to say took a back seat, but it just was, we just weren't focused on the romantic side of our relationship because we were so focused on getting the business up and just profitable, just a fucking break even, because we weren't even breaking even at that point. So the sacrifices we made was I was working 20 hours a day, and Victoria was at home and working to make sure she could backfill our income, to make sure we could pay for rent, to make sure that even I had food because she would help me make food because I was at our business 20 hours a day. And so it was, not only was it a team effort, but those are the sacrifices we made. I miss birthdays. I miss her family parties. I miss my own family parties. We didn't celebrate birthdays. We couldn't travel. We couldn't go visit family in other states or in other places or go on vacations because of the fact that we had to make the sacrifices to make sure that our business was to a point where we felt comfortable or even could even think about taking even just a couple hours off during the day.
Yeah, that was tough. But like you said, it was all just in regards to doing this was because of the fact that we had this goal in mind of opening the gym.
Yep.
And running the gym and getting it to be what we wanted it to be. And we both mutually understood that. And like you said, there was literally no angst about it because we had this vision in mind, and it was like, okay, we have to do this to get to where we want to be.
Yeah. So just be prepared that if you set those goals that are extremely ambitious, that you're going to have...
you have to match the ambitious steps to do it.
Yeah, you do. You have to, exactly. You have to do the uncomfortable things you haven't done before if you're going to set an uncomfortable goal for yourself. But remember, stick to one goal, accomplish that goal. Don't be deviated from that goal. And do whatever you can in your power to make sure you hit that goal. So kind of just a wrap up a little bit about how to set a goal is look down the line on what you want, whether it's a fitness goal or it's a life goal or it's a business goal. Look down the line. What do you want it to look like? Set a clear vision for what you want that goal to look like, and then reverse engineer the steps. And then just set small milestones to get to where it was. Yeah,
and just remember to, be okay in the process and be okay with the things that happen while you're trying to achieve these goals. So just be prepared and be mindful that it's possible you could lose friendships, you could lose friend circles, you can lose time going out, spending Friday nights at New Kings and Queen Cantina, just be prepared. But if you really want this goal, you just have to understand that there is going to be sacrifices that need to get made.
Yep. Yeah. So that's, I think having that understanding is really important. So that's how we that's how we actually plan the goals out. And now we can talk a little bit about how to actually dream about a goal. One thing that was really important to us we learned last year is we were chasing goals, but we didn't know why we were chasing certain goals. Right. So I think last year what got very clear to us is, what do we want in life? And that was really important, is why are you doing these certain things? For what reason? And I know that was one thing that our mentor and our coach taught us, and a good friend of ours taught us, is why are you doing the things that you're doing? So Victoria and I actually sat down and we're like, dude, what the fuck do we want in life? And it was, we decided we wanted kids. Okay, how many kids? We want 2 kids. That's what we want.
Maybe 3.
Maybe 3. When do we want those kids?
We were able to have a very clear conversation because it was a very big debate for a long time. Growing up, it was 2 of my sisters, got pregnant at very young, early ages. And so in my head, when I was in junior high school, it was like, okay, outside of high school, you have kids. That was the norm, right?
Yeah.
I mean, And so very quickly, after obviously having a long relationship, it was like, no, that's not. That doesn't have to be the norm. Not that it's not. It does not have to be. And especially for the type of lifestyle that we wanted. And so we came up after deciding when we wanted to purchase a house. It was like, no, because we lived with roommates prior. We lived here with his mom, a room from there. It was like, no, we want to be able to live with each other on our own for at least a year before we even talk about having kids, because we haven't experienced that as a relationship.
Yeah.
So that was really big.
Mm-hmm. So determine what you actually want. So for us, it was, this is the life that we want. We want 2 kids. This is how much income that we would like to have. Like, what does our life look like 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line? So what do you actually want? And that's, I think people don't stop to think about what they actually want and why do they want it. So they're kind of just like chasing without like looking in the mirror and be like, well, why do I actually want these goals? Is it because I was raised a certain way? Is it because these are societal norms that we have? Why do I actually want these goals? So when you sit down and you talk with, whether it's your significant other, talk with yourself, it becomes a lot clearer on, okay, well, what do I want out of life? And then you just replicate what you want every day. So if you want a partner that is a certain way or does certain things, then you just need to create those things for yourself and you'll attract that as well.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that goes along with that is that you kind of have to, I lost my train of thought.
It's all good.
I don't know what I was going to, like, I don't know how to phrase what I was going to say. Like, you have to be okay with, like, knowing that not everybody is going to be a millionaire is what I'm trying to get at. Like, in terms of, like, if that's not what you want, then that's okay. Like, if you want to be comfortable, like, working a standard 9 to 5, which is totally fine, honestly. Like, after being a small business owner, it's totally fine. Trust me, you could do it.
Yeah.
You know, that's okay. And if you want to grow, if you want to have a net income of $1 million every year, okay, well, you have to do the things to get you there. But if you're okay with having an income of $70,000 a year and you are comfortable because that's your goal, that's how you want your quality of life to be, then that's totally fine too.
Yeah.
You know, I think everybody's like, they want to be at this high status level.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, for what? For what reason? Like,
why are you picking that? Why are you picking that certain goal, that certain thing to work towards, when you need to reflect on, like, well, why do I want this?
Right.
What quality of life do I want? For us, it's like, we don't mind owning a business. We don't mind working. We want 2 kids. We want this certain size. We dissect it down to, how many square feet do we want our house to be? What price point do we want our house to be? Where do we want to live? How many kids do we want to have? Do we want to own a business? What do we want our income to look like? So once you can really pinpoint exactly what you want, it becomes very easy to just backpedal those steps to attack one by one to get to where you need to go.
Exactly. And I think that was the biggest thing, is that we had this conversation of like the feeling of like not being able to provide enough for your significant other or, you know, your family. And it's like, just kind of reflecting back, I remember telling this to David a lot. It was like, where we are at now is way beyond what I thought I was ever going to be in, especially growing up in the household that I did. You know, it's like, what we'd have now is more than what my mom ever had. And for me, like, if we just left it here, I would be totally satisfied, because it's already a lot more than what I ever expected. But because we had these talks and we had these goal sets and everything, it was like, well, shit, let's just do more, like, you know, and get to the point. Now, we don't want a 5,000 square foot house, too fucking big, and I do not want to clean that big ass house on my own. So it's like, okay, we're going to go to this size. And then it's like, we really don't need this amount of money, but we want to be comfortable enough. So if we wanted to get on a plane and just travel for a weekend, like, we could totally do so, you know, or like, we want to be able to have this room for income. So it's like, okay, again, what he's saying is just reverse engineering that and being able to pinpoint the quality of life that you want to live for yourself.
Yeah, that was good. That's good. We can, if you want, we can kind of like, I think that you hit that right on the head. So I don't think that we need to kind of push that any further. So I think just to, like, if you want to just recap a little bit and talk about like setting goals, how we set our goals, and then, you know, the simplistic version of just reverse engineering that.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing is just having a vision. And then once you have that vision, it's just, you just figure out and calculate the steps in order to get to that vision, you know, and it's, you just set it, and you just have to understand the things that you're going to need to do to get there. And if you're okay with not getting there in a certain amount of time, okay, well then fuck around. But if you want to get there by a certain point, then you have to do the work.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you're right. Yeah. So if you're now like we're 1 week into 2023, and fuck what everybody says. We owning a gym and everyone's like, oh, don't be a New Year's resolution and all that bullshit. Dude, fuck all that. If this is what gets you going for the rest of your life, then fucking do it. But don't try to reset year after year after year. Like, set now, and if this is the year that changes you, then fucking do it. But pick a goal. Just remove the cloudiness of all these different things you want, and just be clear. This is exactly what I want to do this year. So set a 10 or 5 year goal, and then break it down year by year, and then break it down quarter by quarter. It's very easy. So just simply pick a goal this year, write down. You already know 99% of you inside your intuition knows what you have to do to get to that goal. So just write down what you need to get to that goal, and then just attack it step by step. It's a lot easier than what people think it is.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's basically it. That's how we set our goals, and just be prepared that you're gonna subconsciously grow out of those friends group, and you might grow out of those familiar situations that you're used to being in, because obviously those situations that you were in didn't get you to the goals that you wanted to do. So you're gonna have to step out of the goals to get to where you want to go. You're gonna have to get out of the situations that you're in now because it didn't lead you to the right point. So setting a new goal, attacking that goal, means that you're gonna have to find yourself in new uncomfortable situations to get there.
Right. I think that's the most simple way of putting it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know what else to say. I mean, yeah.
Solid. Cool. I hope that we didn't mumble on too far, and I hope that we didn't lead anybody on a path and like, well, you didn't fucking end us with an actual solution. But I think that recap was pretty accurate.
I think so. I think if you are struggling with trying to find a goal, I think it's valid to just shoot us a message.
Dude, I mean, if
you're
90 years old, it's going to be a little bit more difficult.
Right.
But dude, if you're in your fucking 20s, 30s, and obviously we're in our early 20s, like, dude, just pick one thing and go after it. Because you have the rest of your life to attack a goal every single year. Just pick one this year, simplify it, reverse engineer it, write down the steps to get to it, and just go after it. And then after that, you could set a new goal and a new goal. But just don't be mumbled and jumbled by society and what you think needs to happen. Pick one fucking goal and execute on it.
Yeah. Society's not going to live your life, you are. So you have to be happy with that.
Cool. Well, that's it for this show. If you liked it, give it a share, copy the link, post it on Instagram so that people can watch it and read it. Send us a message if you like it. Let us know. Appreciate you guys. This is Figuring It Out with myself, David.
And Victoria.
And we'll see you on the next one. Appreciate you guys.